Hello Internet, I'm Father Casey Cole, and yes, I am in fact a real Catholic priest, but this weekend I will not be celebrating Mass. I won't be baptizing any babies, anointing the sick, presiding at any weddings, or burying the dead. No, this weekend, I'm at VidCon.
Just watch me breaking, I swear, you're falling into me, touch me, I swear, you would do anything that I want, so keep us awake till the dawn, baby, feel free, I wanna make you sweat on me.
If you're not familiar with it, VidCon is the largest media conference in the world, gathering more than 30,000 fans, creators, and industry personnel, and at least one priest to collaborate, to learn from one another, and just have a little fun. I mean, come on. They have a Nerf battle station. For the kids, of course.
Just take a hint, you got a free pass, oh, try to hide it, but you had me from the get-go. Let me be frank, I'm not that complicated.
I may be a friar, but I can still have fun and whoop that little girl's butt. 85-17, thank you very much. Now, of course, it's not all fun and games, and for serious professionals like myself, this is a business conference. There are workshops all day long for media professionals, teaching what they've learned so that we can refine our craft, and time for networking so we can meet new people and collaborate in the business. When I came here last year, I was just blown away by how much I didn't know about what I was doing. The psychology of how we consume media, cultural trends, the science of thumbnails. I realized that there was so much more than just hitting the record button and hoping for the best. This is a serious business that goes well beyond just good content. And let me tell you, it pays off. Now, obviously, there are a lot of factors that go into this, but since attending last year, my subscribers and total view count has more than tripled. This stuff really does matter. And that's all well and good, you say. If the church wants to evangelize young people, it needs to know this stuff. It needs to speak the language of our culture and be ahead of the curve. That all makes sense. But is it really what a Catholic priest should be doing with his time? I mean, sure, you were probably all on board with me making videos while I was in seminary, in formation as a religious brother. It was a great hobby to have, a way to share my life with the world and evangelize, a good thing to do with my spare time. But now I'm a priest. Now I have real work to do, real responsibilities, and you might be wondering yourself, how can I spend so much time online? How can I sacrifice an entire weekend when there are parishes to be run and sacraments to be administered? In other words, now that I'm a priest, shouldn't I be focusing on more priestly things? It's a really interesting question, and one that I welcome, because frankly, I think so many people have in their imaginations such a narrow view of the priesthood. Basically, we're nothing more than sacramental machines. Practically speaking, this is completely understandable. The sacraments are an integral part of our lives as Catholics, and we as priests are the primary, if not only, people who can celebrate them. It should be a major focus in what we do. Why spend our time doing things that lay people can do when there are certain things that only we can do? And yet, the priesthood is more than just a utilitarian practicality. We are more than just sacramental machines. We are ministers of Christ. As such, we do take up his priestly ministry, offering sacrifice for the world, praying, celebrating the sacraments. But we must always remember that he was a minister in two other ways, as a prophet and a king. As the greatest of the prophets, Jesus ministered to his people as a teacher. He announced the kingdom, taught the people what they needed to know, and before he ascended to heaven, his final commission to disciples was for them to do the same. Go and make disciples of all nations. As a priest, I'll obviously have this opportunity to preach in the homily every week, but I can hardly say that I'm making disciples of all nations if I only ever preach to those who come to church. Our world is facing a crisis of faith. An entire generation is leaving the church. If I truly take my ordination seriously, I need to remember that my prophetic ministry is just as important as my priestly one. Sometimes that means coming to conferences like this, wearing my habit and going places where people don't expect to see a priest, being present in strange and outrageous places, because that's where the gospel needs to be proclaimed. Over the past few days, I've had some truly remarkable conversations with people. They often come up perplexed, a little confused, interested in what I'm wearing. Nice costume, bro. And then I get to tell them, well, actually, it's not a costume, it's the real thing. I'm a Franciscan friar, a real priest. And then there's just shock on their face. Sometimes they're embarrassed, they're confused, they don't know what to say, but then they're just kind of amazed and even more interested. A Franciscan? A priest at VidCon? Yeah. And then we start talking about faith, about life, even some of the burdens they carry. It's amazing how quickly people open up and share what they're going through. This truly absurd situation I put myself in is not something that can be simply pawned off to lay people because Father is too busy with the sacraments. The work of evangelization is the responsibility of every Christian and is fundamental to my ministry as a priest. And so it is with the ministry of Jesus' kingship. Truly, he is the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, for whom all power and authority in heaven and on earth are subject. And yet, when he walked this earth among us, he did not lord it over his people, but led through servant leadership and sacrifice, curing the ills of the sick, feeding the poor, and laying down his life for all. This is what he commissioned his disciples to do after him. As a priest, I will obviously have this responsibility in a juridical sense, in the way that I administer parishes and make decisions for the community. But if I fail to care for the poor, fail to go to those in suffering, fail to lay down my own life in humility, can I really say that I'm living up to the ministry of Christ? Now, obviously, these tasks don't have immediate relevance to my time here at VidCon, but I think they go to prove my overall point. The priesthood includes much more than just sacramental ministry. Just as a priest who doesn't celebrate the sacraments regularly can't say that they're living the fullness of Christ's ministry, neither can someone who only celebrates the sacraments, who doesn't care for the poor or the spread of the faith. Evangelizing through social media, teaching the faith, serving at soup kitchens, attending city council meetings to advocate for fair housing for the poor. None of these things are sacramental in nature, and so it's tempting for us to think that we should leave them only to lay people, that we shouldn't waste our time with them as priests. And yet, these things are absolutely fundamental to the full ministry of Jesus Christ. I may not be at a parish this weekend, and it'd probably be a bad idea if I made a habit of that. But that doesn't mean that I'm shirking my priestly responsibilities. There is a whole world out there beyond our church walls not receiving our sacraments. And I intend to be a priest for them as well.
Just watch me breathe.